Welcome to this last Tuesday in December for these Oasis gatherings. We've been gathering since September, and I just wanted to ring the chime and get you to center and take a breath. So as in all my meditations, I've been working with this grid of the horizontal and vertical grids. And this is really connecting heaven to earth and looking at our past and into our future. So last week, I did a lot of work with this connecting heaven and earth. And we went through various systems in our body and how that correlated to the systems going on in our world. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But today we'll focus on the past, being the year 2020, because this has been an interesting year. We're looking at this concept of as above, so below, as within, so without. And so for this time being, let's just get centered with some deep breaths. And get yourself in your body, mindful of your heart beating, of your breath, and to get to our 0-point field in the present moment, we will integrate both the vertical and horizontal axes and bring us to that cross point where they intersect at our heart center. So focus just a moment from bringing the heaven energies from above down through your crown into your heart, and mingle them with the earth energies from below, coming up through your legs and combining into your heart. So as we move off to the left on that grid, starting with the past, let's just have a quick review of this year of 2020. We will go through a past recollection of humanity at large, but this is also a personal memory road for you because the macrocosm is overlaying the microcosm, and you are the microcosm of this great macrocosm on earth. So this timeline for humanity is being directed by Mother Earth as she is a part of you. So she is that divine feminine energy that comes up from below in the south. And this is feminine collective energy. And she has been in the process of creation very actively in this year of 2020. So imagine that Mother Earth wants to birth a new earth. She gets that twinkle and yearning to give birth to a new baby to replace the current version of her earth. So around that time of the spring solstice, March 19th, Earth was bombarded with very strong gamma light waves from Father Sun. And the light from the sun came in to fertilize with Mother Earth, and this was the start of a new impregnation. A new seed had been planted. So this very same week in March, when the time of the spring equinox, there was also that same week an announcement of a new virus that was spreading throughout the globe. It was given the name coronavirus. And corona, meaning an aura around the sun, also means crown. And it's also associated with the crown chakra, which is connecting with your divinity. But this was just the start. This was the initial seeding. As the virus was announced, along with new rules, and in Minnesota, we were ordered to shelter in place. There were lockdowns and closures happened in restaurants and bars, spas, gyms, and schools. And they were told to stay home except for only to get the essentials. The seed needed some peace and calm in order to attach to the womb. We thought our confinement would last only 2 weeks in order to flatten the curve. But that baby seedling kept growing and expanding. The ending of the first trimester for Mother Earth was at the time of the summer solstice, 3 months later on June 21st. This was also the day of a powerful solar eclipse. After this first trimester, Mother Earth realized this baby is here to stay. This virus was announced and put into pandemic levels, and the news spread throughout the globe, all over Mother Earth, to share the news of this impending virus. There were glimpses of fear. And for Mother Earth, what will this baby become? How will it affect our lives from here on out? So bring to mind any emotions you might have been feeling during this time, realization this was here to stay. Maybe you felt sadness or fear. There might have been anger. And there also might have been a bit of some joy and some contentment in realizing to surrender and trust the process. So take another deep breath. So like for parents preparing for any new baby, we had more rules and followed recommendations about now putting on masks. We needed to apply hand sanitizer, and we needed to just really focus on this new baby. Statistics of cases were being blasted on the news daily of what was happening. So July brought us another full moon lunar eclipse on the 4th of July. And by September 21st, the autumn equinox, we ended the second trimester in the growth of this new baby. There were more distractions and chaos, statistics, and confusion set in. But at the same time, we were told by Mother Earth that we are sovereign beings. So instead of focusing on this baby as a virus, it was time to turn this baby into birthing our passion for something new in a new earth. We saw shifts start to happen in various institutions and systems. New normals were happening in the education system, in the medical system, and in the religious systems. There were changes made to our environment. There was less pollution. We looked at new guidelines on how to balance work and life. Mother Earth was starting to feel more empowered and saw that she had the power to create new systems out of integrity and in alignment with new morals and ethics. So take another breath. So what was happening for you personally during the fall of 2020? It was in September that Louis felt the nudge and the call to start these online Zoom classes through the Oasis Center. There was no turning back with this baby, and Louis could feel the growth of the new earth taking root. things that he had been talking about for years. So for this entire third trimester, we have been meeting every Tuesday morning, learning from teachings by Louis, and coming together as a group, sharing conversation with tools and strategies to give birth to this something new. We may have been at first in denial of this new baby, but together we've learned to come to a level of acceptance. And we saw the appreciation for what these growing pains were teaching us. And at times together we've become enthusiastic and we looked at the craziness of what is actually going on. Could you really make this stuff up? So as we reach this third and final trimester after the trimester for the winter solstice, December 21st, we waited in anticipation for the due date of this new birth. This has been a 9-month incubation period from the start of the pandemic around the spring equinox to this time of the winter solstice when we were expected to have the shutdowns lifted. We thought we would be back to some kind of normal for Christmas, for this holy moment of birth. And at this time, we are in the birth canal. Mother Earth is continuing to expand and having contractions. We're experiencing all the birthing pains. So at this very moment, let's imagine that the more joy and love that you are filled with, the more easy it will be to give this final push of birthing this new earth. This has been in planning and in growth for years, and this is where we start to focus on the love and joy that our new earth baby will bring. So imagine your heart filling and expanding in anticipation. And we as a earth are birthing a new age of Aquarius. After 2,000 years in the age of Pisces, we are now moving into a whole new 2,000-year cycle of the age of Aquarius. At the start of the Piscean age, we witnessed the birth of Jesus, and it was symbolized with the Star of Bethlehem. Many are saying the same Saturn-Jupiter conjunction we had this last week is the same planetary alignment that the 3 wise men witnessed at that birth of Jesus. So what are you passionate about birthing in this new earth? This birth is taking place right now. So let's imagine that this birth will happen anytime now with this full moon. We have this full moon tonight. And we have this week before the end of 20 with the new year, starting for the year of 2021. So that brings us from earlier in 2020 as part of our collective and individual past, and get yourself to this moment. And soon we'll explore the future, but for now, feel yourself in this now, present moment, feeling your heart open and ready to receive. So take another breath and come back to this time, come to this place. In this now moment. And I will turn this over to Louis.
Thank you, Lynn. That was great. Amazing. So, yeah, just tying directly into what Lynn was just sharing in the meditation, I offered this to everyone to look at before these 4 stages of creation or genius. I wrote, the first book I wrote back when I was 28 was called The Great Aha, Genius, Creativity, and God. And came up with this, it wasn't my idea, but from a lot of research, it seemed very clear that there are these 4 stages of the process of creation. And so particularly when we're thinking about this idea of stepping into mastery, that mastery would be having this be our normal, having this be the normal way we operate, that we've done our preparation. And we could talk about this as an individual or as a species. We've talked about how this preparation period for birthing a new earth began in 1967, marked by the Summer of Love and the Beatles writing the song All You Need Is Love. But it's just key, just in the same way that Lynn was just sharing in the meditation, that we have done our preparation. Okay, so as we now enter this stage of incubation, which you could say 2020 is all about incubation, about going into the cocoon, masking ourselves, slowing down, rethinking. I mean, it's again the essential part. When I was doing this book, I looked at so many different cases of different writers, artists, scientists, whatever. The whole idea of if we're trying to accomplish something and we put all of this effort into preparation, but typically, almost always in this process, there is suddenly this need to stop, put it down, and wait for the divine inspiration to come that would yield the answer. And you could look at this process of creation in a very minuscule way. Just say you're trying to remember the name of this restaurant that you had an amazing meal like a year ago, or this place that you visited when you were traveling in Greece or whatever, and you can't think of the name. The same process happens where it's like, the more you try to think about it, it won't come. And then you just say, okay, I just have to stop trying to think about it and allow it to come. And sure enough, a minute later, or an hour later, or a day later, the name pops in. Of course, it was the Parthenon. That's what I was trying to think of, the Parthenon. So this is the same thing. We have needed to do this very determined preparation, individually and collectively. But just as necessary is this time of letting go. We have no idea how to do the next step. It's not ours to do. Okay, inspiration comes from outside of time and space. Inspiration will come to us through the crown chakra, like Lynn was saying, through the corona. Okay, so all of these things would be indications from a higher perspective, indications that this is a very important, very necessary process. And so the key for us, individually and collectively, is to find a way to give this incubation our total blessing, our total support, our total enthusiasm, knowing, trusting that what is coming out of incubation will be this inspiration, this whole new way of operating as a species on planet Earth. And so it would make total sense that all of these old systems have needed to stop so we can really look at them and saying, how do these old systems, like Eckhart Tolle would say, all structures need to, at one point or another, need to collapse in order for the new Earth to be born. So we've seen this perfect mechanism. It's so compelling to me that we could see this as the masters we are with the eyes that can see perfection. You know, the eyes that see perfection. Remember I talked about last week, this idea of the singularity, that through divine eyes, we can see the one thing that is happening. We are birthing this new Earth. We are opening ourselves to a whole new era. And so absolutely, that part of us that might have hankered for the old forms to return to the old normal, clearly by the end of this year, most everybody gets it. There's no old normal ever again. The old normal is gone, just like your great-great-grandparents are gone. Your grandparents are gone. Maybe your parents are gone. I mean, once they're gone, and it's up to us to continue as a species birthing each new generation and allowing the greater inspiration to birth something radically new paradigms, new ways of literally operating. And so we've talked about that. We've talked about that extensively over these past months, about these different teachers that were giving us different pieces, at least the pieces that appealed to me, that were pointers that, and the call to integrate the work of Carolyn Mason, Eckhart Tolle, and Dr. David Hawkins, and A Course in Miracles, and last but hardly least, Durkheim. So that we have this instruction manual that's perfectly laid out. I mean, for me, I talked about 1967, this period between 65 and 72, when A Course in Miracles was being delivered, was being expressed through the inspiration of one woman, Helen Schuckman, who had done her preparation, and she talked with her colleague about this thing that was coming to her, saying, "This is A Course in Miracles, please take notes." You know, as crazy as it might have seemed, he supported her in, well, let's just see what happens. In this process, that over 7 years of her taking dictation from this voice every day, the voice that identified itself as Jesus Christ, coming back 2,000 years later to give the same message, but in a way that we could hear that his disciples 2,000 years ago couldn't hear. So he's basically giving us the information that would help us birth the Aquarian age when he showed up in physical form at the beginning of the Piscean age. The species was not nearly ready. You know, they were still fully tribal and not nearly ready. So he would say in 1967, The Summer of Love, Beatles, he would say to us through this channel, pay attention. The same message is being delivered now, and you are ready now. You are ready now to do, this is what he said many years ago, these mystical things that came through him, where he would say, one day you, the collective, you will do more than I ever could have done. Because again, the timing wasn't yet right. But no, a big part of this whole thing, incubation means waiting for the timing to be right. Okay, so Lynn makes reference to my work, my life, and my life, I can guarantee you that, you know, here at 21 years old, I get this divine inspiration about what my personal destiny, my life's purpose is, and what was most of it. Preparation, 50 years of preparation, incubation, okay? From time to time getting little bits of inspiration, but boy, I tell you, what I wrote about when I was 28, what I wrote about when I was 40, is nothing like what's easily expressing through me today, because I wasn't ready. You weren't ready. We collectively weren't ready. So it's like all of these elements are coming together. So my hope is that you, with me, can be totally excited, totally open for what's coming. I really believe 2021 is really going to be this year of dramatic inspiration and the beginning of this process of expression. Now, it might still appear to be some conflict as the old forms continue to dissolve. that's acceptable. That's what we want. Okay, that's absolutely. See, again, this is again what the world needs, these 1,000 points of light. The awakened Christ mind that's operating through us, masters, each and every one of us, that we would never say, as this process is unfolding, oh, this should not be. This is a problem. Again, there's no reason to put the brakes on something that is going to start increasing in velocity and power, and just trusting, even if it's not yet visible in form, trust that we can feel it. The things Lynn talked about in the meditation, these things, these messages from the celestial energetic expression, as well as Mother Earth herself. I mean, the universe is very happy with what's going on planet Earth. Because, again, even though the new child being born might be kicking and screaming through part of the process, because it's part of it is physically and or emotionally painful. But the sooner we're able to align ourselves fully with the process, just giving it a big yes, like, wow, thank you. Not even needing to know any details, just energetically allowing this inspiration to flow through us, and then allow the expression of the new earth to begin. And again, it might be a 10-year process, who knows? We might see, but my guess would be that in 2021, each of you will see in some form or another the light, right? The light at the end of the tunnel, or the light that comes in the darkness, to show you personally, oh, okay, this isn't so bad. This isn't as difficult as I thought it would be. This is the same thing that I would welcome to any of us that are approaching the process of our physical transition out of the body, that this is like that. So again, I've talked about in my conscious living program that conscious dying is instrumental. I mean, and so again, there's a possibility, like Eckhart would say, if we could learn to die without hurting the body, then we have this possibility of a level of freedom and happiness that would be unknown in earlier times. And this is the key, that we are fully willing to die to our attachments to the old forms that are disappearing. And so, all of you have certain tribal and egoic structures. I have one. I oddly enough, in my life, I've never really missed somebody, a human being, the way I miss my little girl right now, being gone for 10 days. It's a very lovely thing to have that kind of emotional connection with another human being, even though it's painful. I mean, just thinking about her now brings up tears. So, but the pain that I feel missing her so much during this really lovely time is a beautiful thing, not something to be dismissed. It's like, I want for each of you to be able to look at whatever it is that you have an attachment to, and feel the pain that attachment necessitates, but to feel it in a way that is actually joyful, not, again, at an egoic level, a negative thing. It's like, it feels so good to love so deeply. And simply to recognize our tribal and egoic relationships. And again, the idea is not to extinguish them. We're not looking to destroy our tribal or egoic life, but simply to bring it into this chalice of blessing. Like, wow, it's so beautiful to be human, to experience that aspect of our humanity that makes us care so much about each other and about, I mean, what a beautiful thing for me personally. Okay, I miss my daughter, but Kati's family left all their animals for me to take care of, while they're gone. So it's kind of like you take that devotion that could be just about one person. We think about how silly it might have been at certain times in our life when we fell romantically in love with somebody, and all of the sort of the relative insanity that goes into that delusion that, oh, this one person. But I'm doing exactly the same thing now with my daughter. I'm making up this beautiful delusion that my little 5-year-old daughter is the most amazing, the most special, the most remarkable, the most precious individual in this world. Well, I'm making that up. So we're making up whatever we make as creators. Remember, we are these masterful creators, and we can make up things at the tribal and egoic level, and we can also operate at this other level where we literally transform the limitations of time and space, the limitations of distance, someone being physically distant. So this is my hope, is that as we move forward into the new year, as we move forward into the new era, that we continually look at all of these opportunities for transmutation. Remember, the Course in Miracles, the line says, the end of the world is not its destruction, but its translation into heaven. So we can translate all of these relationships that we have, all of the old structures that we're losing. We can translate all of that into the kingdom of heaven. And this is, again, literally what the era of Aquarius is going to look increasingly like, is the creation of heaven on earth. That this is our destiny as a species to create that. And that's exactly what Jesus said in the Course in Miracles. Nothing less than that is your destiny. Nothing less than this translation of the world of time and space into the timeless realm of heaven. That we have the ability to do that here. Not, the old metaphor that when you drop your body, you go off into this celestial realm of heaven. That's not the point. That again is just like a way of being shown. And if you spend time with someone that is making that passage through the portal, you get to see this transformation of this density into this light body, this energy body. And so again, that brings us to that part of our work, to keep remembering these levels of the tribal, egoic, and the spiritual mind, and remembering that as much as the tribal mind is all about the safety and care of the body, the egoic mind is all about the care and defense of the person. The spiritual mind is about something entirely different. Okay, it's an expansion beyond the limitations of those things. That's why it's more difficult to talk about the spiritual mind, because we don't have that much experience yet as energy bodies, but we will. And this is, again, what I'm hoping that we consider our daily life as spiritual practice. That was the name of Durkheim's first book that right now I loaned to Verd to read. But daily life as spiritual practice. The idea that in daily life we can keep moving these things that might have seemed just mundane aspects of our physical body or of our person. We keep moving these into a higher vibration. And we realize, again, that what we truly are is this energetic portal, this energy body, which serves as a portal through which the unmanifested manifests. So this whole thing, when we start seeing this expression happening, we're going to see it happening through ourselves, through each of us. So, I would say that for me, because I was very ready, I chose to go into incubation a month before the world said we had to do that. And out of that cocooning for me came this beautiful process over 6 months of building this kooky little stone and wood cabin. And for me, that was just a perfect way of saying, I'm home. I'm home. I'm home in the universe. I'm home in the space-time realm. I'm fully here. I'm fully present. I'm fully available to be 100% of service to this energetic principle that has been calling to me all of my life and is calling to you all of your life. Again, remember, our function to be this portal is our happiness. So simply on a daily basis, being this portal through which creativity might flow, building a cabin or cooking a meal or taking care of animals or whatever. It doesn't matter what the form of the expression is, but being about that expression, caring for the land, caring for each other, caring, just everything we're doing. If we just see ourselves as servants of this unstoppable power. Okay, then again, like I say, we can relax, we can feel at ease, we can feel happy, because this whole process is well in hand. I mean, Lynn said it so well in her meditation that these elements that are operating in very dramatic ways are beautiful if you can see always the process of dissolution as the birthing. Again, shifting from the caterpillar, oh no, to the butterfly, wow. It's the simplest thing in the world to do. Not difficult. And again, we can still weep about those tribal and egoic connections we have that might feel threatened or damaged or dead. Grieving our losses, to me, is an essential part of awakening to joy. I've always talked about that. For me, going through a very dramatic dark night over a period of 21 years, I got to see so clearly through repetition, how exactly the same grief and joy are. They're two elements of the exact same energy, that as we open ourselves to grief, and it is so cute. I watch this in Amelie. It's such a natural thing in a child. Amelie will just cry really hard about something that feels painful, like whatever, something in her little child mind will feel like a devastation, and she'll cry really hard for like 10 minutes. Always, I watch her. At the end of 10 minutes, she's like, suddenly everything shifts and she just starts giggling. She's happy. She just, moved that energy. And it's like grief and joy there. And it took me, as an adult and a well-conditioned adult, to not really feel either. It took me, like I said, probably a good decade in my 30s to grieve until I saw the direct connection. Always I felt just so happy, so joyful, so after crying really hard for 2 minutes, over some childhood pain that came up to be released. So, and like I say, even to this day, if I think now about Amelie and I miss her so much, I can feel the sense of grief because I have so much love and joy for being her daddy. So it's the same thing. So, grief, people at some point might think of grief as like a negative thing, but it's not. It's an indication that we're fully alive, that we can grieve the losses that we experience individually or collectively. I mean, hopefully there's going to be some really beautiful celebrations for us as a culture in North America, but the whole world. Some beautiful ceremonies to say goodbye to some of these structures that are never coming back. I mean, it's just like celebrating a divorce, celebrating a death. There's a need for celebration to fully for it to be done. I mean, just take one particular thing. We could say, okay, there's been a problem with racism for a few hundred years in North America, other parts of the world also, but just focusing on North America. Can you imagine a beautiful ceremony when really all of that hatred that's coming to the surface now to be released is finished? And how amazing that ceremony could look. It's actually something that's relatively unthinkable because we haven't really seen it. You know, we've had certain people maybe show us, like Nelson Mandela or whatever, certain people give us like a little sneak preview of what that might look like to really grieve the sadness of races treating each other so badly. So again, I'm very, not hopeful. I mean, hopeful is way too small a word. I'm very excited and, you know, filled with enthusiasm for what's coming in the years ahead. I think over this period, there's going to be so much beauty and so much love pouring out because it's people are ready for it. They want it. They want peace. They want love. They want happiness. And many people right now feels like those things are impossible. They're so distant. So imagine how amazing it's going to be when those energies flow back into their lives. And I think we're going to see, hopefully we're all going to live long enough to see it, to see the full flowering of these emotions that, you know, we're very big back in the 1960s, right? That was a pretty big thing in North America in the 1960s. There was so much energy about love, so much energy about beauty and peace and harmony and all of these things. And then we had to go through this difficult 50-year process to wait for it to come back. But it's coming back. It's coming back. It just intensified. I mean, it's going to be mind-blowing how people will experience it because it'll be real. It won't be like, oh, just taking little baby steps into like a hippie commune. No, it's going to be like a global shift. And there's going to be so much celebration. People in the streets, people just going crazy because there's going to be this new freedom that seemed impossible. Even, you know, go back a year or 2, 3. I mean, there hasn't been a time in recent memory when the globe, the whole population of the globe has had something to cheer about. Maybe you could say the closest thing was maybe the end of World War II, but still, I don't think that was happy for everybody. It wasn't happy for all the Jews that were incinerated and all the Nazis that were either killed or, you know, whatever. War, the end of a war isn't the very greatest way to celebrate. To me, the birth of a huge wave of peace and love and beauty, you know, the age of Aquarius, that is something that everybody can get involved with and really enjoy. So I feel like I'm ready to stop the recording for today, and Lynn was going to lead us in a visioning thing. I don't have my, oh yeah, we're right about at 1 hour, so perfect time to do that. And I love you guys so much. I'm not going anywhere, but I'm just going to say that before I stop the recording. I love you so much. Sing that to the whole world.